Johnny had heard every word. Suddenly he arose to action and knocked down Lee Westminster, and sat on him. "Let me up," said Lee. Johnny had no quarrel whatever with Lee. He grinned, but he sat still. Lee, the sat-upon, was a sharp little boy. "Showing off before the gals?" he said in a thin whisper. "Hush up," returned Johnny. "Will you give me a writing pad? I lost mine, and Mother said I couldn't have another for a week if I did." "If I don't holler?" inquired Lee. "Yes, hush up." Lee lay still, and Johnny continued to sit upon his prostrate form. Both were out of sight of Madam's windows, behind a clump of the cedars which graced her lawn. "Always fighting," said Lily, with a fine crescendo of scorn. She lifted her chin high, and also her nose. "Always fighting," said Amelia, and also lifted her chin and nose. Amelia was a born mimic. She actually looked like Lily, and she spoke like her. Then Lily did a wonderful thing. She doubled her soft little arm into an inviting loop of Amelia's little claw of a hand. "Come along, Amelia Wheeler," she said. "We don't want to stay near horrid fighting boys. We will go by ourselves." And they went. Madam had a headache that morning, and the Japanese gong did not ring for 15 minutes longer. During that time Lily and Amelia sat together on a little rustic bench under a twinkling poplar. And they talked, and a sort of miniature sun and satellite relation was established between them, although neither was aware of it. Lily, being on the whole a very normal little girl, and not disposed to even a full estimate of herself as compared with others of her own sex, did not dream of Amelia's adoration, and Amelia, being rarely destitute of self-consciousness, did not understand the whole scope of her own sentiments. It was quite sufficient that she was seated close to this wonderful Lily, and agreeing with her to the verge of immolation. "Of course," said Lily, "girls are pretty, and boys are just as ugly as they can be." "Oh, yes," said Amelia fervently. "But," said Lily thoughtfully, "it is queer how Johnny Trumbull always comes out ahead in a fight, and he is not so very large, either." "Yes," said Amelia, but she realized a pang of jealousy. "Girls could fight, I suppose," said she. "Oh, yes, and get their clothes all torn and messy," said Lily. "I shouldn't care," said Amelia. Then she added with a little toss, "I almost know I could fight." The thought even floated through her wicked little mind that fighting might be a method of wearing out obnoxious and durable clothes. "You!" said Lily, and the scorn in her voice wilted Amelia. "Maybe I couldn't," said she. "Of course you couldn't, and if you could, what a sight you'd be! Of course, it wouldn't hurt your clothes as much as some, because your mother dresses you in strong things, but you'd be sure to get black and blue, and what would be the use, anyway? You couldn't be a boy if you did fight." "No, I know I couldn't." "Then what is the use? We are a good deal prettier than boys, and cleaner, and have nicer manners, and we must be satisfied." "You are prettier," said Amelia, with a look of worshipful admiration at Lily's sweet little face. "You are prettier," said Lily. Then she added equivocally, "Even the very homeliest girl is prettier than a boy." Poor Amelia! It was a good deal for her to be called prettier than a very dusty boy in a fight. She fairly dimpled with delight, and again she smiled charmingly. Lily eyed her critically. "You aren't so very homely, after all, Amelia," she said. "You needn't think you are." Amelia smiled again. "When you look like you do now, you are real pretty," said Lily, not knowing or even suspecting the truth, that she was regarding in the face of this little ardent soul her own, as in a mirror. However, it was after that episode that Amelia Wheeler was called Copycat. The two little girls entered Madam's select school arm in arm when the musical gong sounded, and behind them came Lee Westminster and Johnny Trumbull, surreptitiously dusting their garments. And ever after, the fact of Amelia's adoration and imitation of Lily Jennings was evident to all. Even Madam became aware of it, and held conferences with two of the under-teachers. "It is not at all healthy for one child to model herself so entirely upon the pattern of another," said Miss Parmalee. Most certainly it is not, agreed Miss Acton, the music teacher. Why, that poor little Amelia Wheeler had the rudiments of a fairly good contralto. I had begun to wonder if the poor child might not be able at least to sing a little, and so make up for other things. And now she tries to sing high like Lily Jennings, and I simply cannot prevent it. She has heard Lily play, too, and has lost her own touch, and now it is neither one thing nor the other. I might speak to her mother, said Madame thoughtfully. Madame was American-born, but she was married to a French gentleman, long since deceased, and his name sounded well on her circulars. She and her 2 under-teachers were drinking tea in her library. Miss Parmalee, who was a true lover of her pupils, gasped at Madame's proposition. "Whatever you do, please do not tell that poor child's mother," said she. "I do not think it would be quite wise, if I may venture to express an opinion," said Miss Acton, who was a timid soul, and always inclined to shy at her own ideas. "But why?" asked Madame. "Her mother," said Miss Parmalee, "is a quite remarkable woman with great strength of character, but she would utterly fail to grasp the situation. I must confess," said Madame, sipping her tea, "why any child, not an absolute idiot, should so lose her own identity in another's absolutely bewilders me. I never heard of such a case." Miss Parmalee, who had a sense of humor, laughed a little. "It is bewildering," she admitted, "and now the other children see how it is and call her copycat to her face, and she does not mind. I doubt if she understands, and neither does Lily, for that matter. Lily Jennings is full of mischief, but she moves in straight lines. She is not conceited or self-conscious, and she really likes Amelia, without knowing why." "I fear Lily will lead Amelia into mischief," said Madame, "and Amelia has always been such a good child." "Lily will never mean to lead Amelia into mischief," said loyal Miss Parmalee. "But she will," said Madame. "If Lily goes, I cannot answer for Amelia's not following," admitted Miss Parmalee. "I regret it all very much indeed," sighed Madame, "but it does seem to me still that Amelia's mother would not even believe it in the first place," said Miss Parmalee. "Well, there is something in that," admitted Madame. "I myself could not even imagine such a situation. I would not know of it now, if you and Miss Acton had not told me. There is not the slightest use in telling Amelia not to imitate Lily, because she does not know that she is imitating her," said Miss Parmalee. "If she were to be punished for it, she could never comprehend the reason." "That is true," said Miss Acton. "I realize that when the poor child squeaks instead of singing. All I could think of this morning was a little mouse caught in a trap when she could not see. She does actually squeak, and some of her low notes, although, of course, she is only a child, she has never attempted much, promise to be very good." "She will have to squeak for all I can see," said Miss Parmalee. "It looks to me like one of those situations that no human being can change for better or worse." "I suppose you are right," said Madame, "but it is most unfortunate, and Mrs. Wheeler is such a superior woman, and Amelia is her only child, and this is such a very subtle and regrettable affair. Well, we have to leave a great deal to Providence." "If," said Miss Parmalee, "she could only get angry when she is called copycat." Miss Parmalee laughed, and so did Miss Acton. Then all the ladies had their cups refilled, and left Providence to look out for poor little Amelia Wheeler, in her mad pursuit of her ideal in the shape of another little girl, possessed of the exterior graces which she had not.